it wasn't oh, I can't wait, like, I imagine this. No. They know exactly how each other feel. Like, hello, and welcome to this video. So, this is a ongoing series that I have where I read Latine authors, and I also try to double down and read books about Latine characters. So it's called Latine Latinx author character rewrite videos vlogs. This is going to be more of a video because I devoured this way too quickly to be an effective vlogger. So I book, obviously you'll know because you'll see the thumbnail, but book is After Hours on Milagro Street by Lopez, and I love this. This is my second favorite Latine book that I've read for this series. It is also the second book that I've gotten, or I've met the author at the Tucson Festival of Books. So, but I bought this copy at the festival and she signed it, and I met her, and listening to Angela talk on panels is really what made me want to buy the book. Talking about her characters, her story, all those things. And I had told her that I was thinking about doing it as my book club read, which is what happened. It was the book club read. And okay, so I started reading this book in April because that was beginning of second quarter. But let me tell you about the book. Professor Jeremiah Post, the poor, handsome man, is in fact standing in the way of Alejandra Alex Torres turning Loretta's, her grandmother's bar, into a viable business. The hot Berniac, who sleeps in one of the upstairs tenant rooms, already has all of her Mexican-American family's admiration. She won't let him have the bar and building she needs to resurrect her career, too. Alex, blowing into town, has rocked Jeremiah to his mild-mannered core, but the large, boisterous Torres clan is everything he never had. He doesn't believe Alex has the best interest of her family, their community, or the bar's legacy in mind. To protect all three, he'll stand up to the tough and tattooed bartender with whom he now shares a bedroom wall, and resist the insta-lust they both feel. But when an old enemies are in Loretta's and the surrounding neighborhood, Alex and Jeremiah must combine forces. It will take her might and his mind to save the home they both desperately need. So, right off the bat, yes, this is a romance. Yes, my last love was last year, was also a romance. But this is so much more hot than the Love and Taco series, first one. And this is not a spoiler, they F right at the beginning, like chapter 1. It is fast and quick and carries a tone for at least the first quarter to the first half of the book. So This was steamy. This was definitely much hotter. This was definitely on the spicy side. And okay, so obviously I listened to it on my phone, but I'm filming on my phone. So we're going to go to the tablet to see the bookmarks I put. So track 2, which was on the 4th, and I think that was when I first started reading it, April 4th to be specific, because right now it is May 11th, and yes, it's not the end of the quarter, and I did finish reading this. But I'm so excited. So on April 4th, all I did was put a bookmark, and I did a couple of those until I got to track 11, and that was a 25% mark, which I would have written a comment in the members section. And I put down here in my book notes. Actually, let me bring up. Okay, so I put down, I love that her Nana is what is bringing them together, and damn, the tension and the spicy talk is high. And yes, this is what I mean by the spice. It's not just because they do it in the first chapter. It is brought up constantly. That's why I say it sets the tone. Like, if you watched my Love and Tacos review, I talked about how the tension of the spice and the like, I want it but I can't, and just constantly in your head, this had very similar to almost exactly the same idea, except it wasn't I can't wait, like I imagine this. No. They know exactly how each other feel. Like, it was hot, quick, and fast, but they still know how it feels. That gives the dirty talk, the dirty thoughts, and the tension a whole different level of, like, tension. Yeah. So that was the like 25% mark, and I pretty much said the exact same thing to members. And then this is where I kind of fell off the hinges. So I got close to the 15 mark, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish reading this, so I need to stop. So I stopped for the rest of the month, and took a break, and then I started reading again on the 9th of May. Again, it is the 11th of May. It's nighttime. So on the 9th, track 24, I love how it seems like they are definitely growing separately and together. And then at track 27, I said I'm worried. And then, just for my point of reference, and I will say this now, and if you follow my Instagram, you would have seen it. But I said I'm fucking listening to this at Walmart and trying not to cry at track 29. And this has 34 tracks. So I was really close to being done at that point. And that was the last time I bookmarked. And that was obviously on the 11th today. So, and I didn't obviously keep up with the marks because I'm horrible. And a lot of the times I'm listening to this in the car, so it's really hard for me to stop and like write a comment, even if it's just for my reference and not necessarily the video's reference. But this book was so amazing. It was hot. It was steamy, it was spicy, but it also had so much of a soul. So at the Festival of Books, Angela talked about how she, yes, made a spicy FF romance book, but she was also going to throw some information about gentrification. And she 100% did that, but not just about gentrification, at least to me, what I perceived from this. She also throws in there about ethnicity and about like who you are and about how America views its makeup. And she kind of doubles down on she gets to this point closer to the end, but she doubles down on this in her, I think it's an afterword. Is it an afterword? Let me see. Author's note. In an author's note. She doubles down in an author's note, talking about growing up in middle America as a Mexican American. And again, the fact that she puts Mexican American in the book, it's in the back summary, it's in the pages. She self-identified as Mexican American at the panels, which is, if you're not new, something that I self-identify, and it's something you don't hear very often because people just state that they're Mexican. Like, Mexican American is not a thing. Like, it's not, like, we're not worthy to have that title, is what it feels like, when other ethnicities, even ethnicities that aren't as big anymore, like Italian American, is more valid. And I love that she brought that to attention. It's there. It's on the page. It's printed. No one can take this away. No one. It is printed. It's on the internet. It's in ebooks. It's there. This cannot just disappear. And it makes me feel validated and feel seen in the same way that Alexis Daria's character in You Had Me at Ola is a Latina who does not speak Spanish, like, fluently, can't read, but she still played and wanted to represent a Latina on TV and had to learn how to speak correctly for the show, or how in the Julieta and Ramon, the Love and Taco series, where Julieta is talking about how it is to grow up as a woman and a woman who wants to be a business owner and push forward, or how Roman is a multi-generation person who has felt lost from their culture and wanting to respect and be part of it again, but how hard that is. All these points, I think, are a very valid and very new point in this story that I'm trying. I mean, this series started as, again, just me wanting to find representation of me. And I didn't think it was going to be this, I don't want to say easy, but this that I was going to find so much of it in different ways, in different forms. And after hours at Milagro Street and Roman and Julieta, both are from Mexican descendants, and Alexis Darius series is from Puerto Rican descendants, but still that idea of course minority, but also of a Latine community that can come together, that we have so many similar experiences, especially when you are past that immigration story. And again, I will always say in every video, I will reiterate it to the end of time, the immigration story is important. The immigration story is valid, and the immigration story needs to continue to be put forward and seen so that we don't have news stories of children being separated from parents and put in cages and being placed in dangerous situations, or even being separated to the point where they're given to other families. Like, that is important. But these stories are just as valid. Just as valid. If somebody who is in the past, an author who wrote about a Italian American immigrant coming over from Italy to live out the American dream, and was in a romance story with English American or just an American, was valid and important then, these are valid and important now. And I feel like it is the least seen. And I think it's so important to put these out in the world, because even though for many Mexican Americans, we've been here. As I've said before, my family lived here, and literally one day they were in Mexico, went to sleep, and woke up the next morning, and we were suddenly American. And I literally have generations that I can closely identify with that happened. And for those who came in, like people from Puerto Rico, and further from other parts of Latin America, like in South America, it is important to hear those stories, but especially the stories of us here, the kids, the next generations, because we have a different story, and a story that can be just as rich and is just as important to share. And that's what these do. That's what these share. That's what these represent, is us. The ones that are kind of just forgotten because we're not immigrants. Like, Alex doesn't really speak Spanish. I mean, I probably understand more Spanish than the character, but that's mostly because I live close to the border. It's much more prominent here than it would be in Kansas, which is where the book takes place. And we have the right to share those stories, just like every African American has the right to share all their multiple stories, or just to have a general fantasy story with an African American, a dark-skinned person as the main character, as the hero. And as every Asian American also deserves to have a Japanese, Chinese, Filipino main character, hero or heroine. And I feel like those are easier to come by. They're still hard. It's still very difficult to get those published and to get people who are of that ethnicity to write the book and put it out. I'm not arguing that. But I feel like there's more of them, especially as we have times where it's, Black History Month, or this May is Asian and Island Pacific Month, and people are doing lists and talking about all the books from authors of those races. There's a ton, and I've done my research. I've looked up on YouTube, I've looked up on Instagram, not much on TikTok because me and TikTok have an interesting relationship. But I've looked up those. There's not that much. It's very rare. If there is one, it's during Hispanic Heritage Month, which is also a month that is broken up in a very weird state. If you look up why it's set the way it is, it makes sense. But if you don't, it's odd. And it's also not something people readily know. Everybody knows when Black History Month is. And Island Pacific Month, I know I'm saying that wrong. I think it's Asian and Island Pacific Month. I also can't say Pacific correctly. I know I'm saying it wrong. But I feel like those are becoming popular. Yes, when I was younger, I didn't know, and I don't know if it was a thing when I was younger, but as people wanting to recognize minority groups and bring it up, I found out about it very quickly. Very quickly. Most people know when Pride Month is more than Hispanic Heritage Month, or as I think a lot of people are trying to call it more, Latine Heritage Month, to incorporate more than just like Mexico culture. So I think that's really where a lot of it stems from, and that's because of the western part of America. I went on a rant. I don't even know how much of this is going to go on, but either way, it really touched me in a different way, just like the other books did. So far, every book that I've specifically at least done a video for, I've read a couple of more that are in a different blog. Also, we had another book in the book club. There we go. That was so hard. In the book club that I haven't done a video for. I've loved all of those too, but especially these ones that I'm making a video for, they've been important, or they've touched me for all very different reasons. But I do think they all hold great representation. And I think even not just for the representation that the author is expecting to present. Because even though this book is, yes, a love story, but also about gentrification, she mentions it. She mentions it in her author note. That she was born in a small town in southeast Kansas. The Mexican American side of my family has lived in the same area since the early 1900s. Where's that story? In the sense of in history books. Even I took a class in college about minority groups, and I could look through my books, but I don't think I remember that being talked about. I'm just like, oh yeah, all Hispanic people are along the West Coast, southwest area because that's where Mexico is. And if you're in a different part of the country, you're most likely Puerto Rican. I feel like that's what most people think, even though that's not necessarily true. And I think on a subconscious level, I knew that, but on a conscious level, I fell victim as much as other people, and of not acknowledging that because it's not in history, it's not in classes. History is written by the victor, and victors don't want to know dirty little secrets. And that's what a lot of minority groups are. And she states it perfectly. Small towns are a representation of America, and that America includes my family, part of a community since 1908. My family's story proves that the United States has been an integration of a lot of people, a lot of cultures, and a lot of ideas for a long time. It is better for it. Exactly. So to get off my soapbox, we're going to go into spoilers, and we're going to be talking about some spicy things. YouTube may hate me, but we're going to go into spoilers, and then I will give my review, and I will wrap up my feelings. So, I may put this timestamp here, but this will be chaptered. So if you want to skip to the non-spoiler part, then go ahead and find it, and I'll see you there. Okay, so guys, this was so freaking hot. So obviously she's coming home because her grandmother has fallen and is injured. So she comes home with the idea that she's going to help her grandmother at the bar that the family owns, but also to buy it along with her sisters, which one is a chef and the other one is a highly educated woman who married a lawyer and lives on the other side of the country. And we kind of find out a little bit at the end that maybe it's not as sunshiny and roses as we think at the beginning, and she proceeds, or she exudes. So, we get to the beginning, and she knows that there are rooms at in the back of the bar, and we know that from the blurb because we know that because that's where Jeremiah lives. But she doesn't know that Jeremiah's there. She thinks that the bar is empty, and she steals the key. So she drives into town on the heels of a freaking storm of storms. And she walks in, so not necessarily soaking, but she's definitely wet and she's tired. It's been a long drive because she's coming from Chicago. And they startle each other. And then finally she decides that she's still angry from some stuff that happened in Chicago, which you really don't get to know what happened until the end. But she's still very upset about it and is tired and wants to blow off some steam. So she decides, because Jeremiah is this large, hulking man, like, I feel like the epiphany of Abraham Lincoln with muscles. Not overly muscled, like not superhero muscle, but like they're there and you can see them, but not gangly like Abraham Lincoln. But I feel like the tallness the way they describe him feels like that. Even though in this cover he looks like he's the same height as her, but in the book he's much taller than her. So I don't know. There was probably an aesthetic choice, but so she automatically propositions Professor Post, and he says, yeah, sort of. There is a slight consent issue from his side, but no one's necessarily upset. It's more of like he's startled. But he's hard and up and ready to freaking go. So he's also in his pajamas. He came down because he heard noise and wanted to make sure no one was breaking into the bar. And she whips out a condom from her bag because apparently she's all over somebody. And whips it on him, gets going, and he even says, wait, hold on, slow down, because it's been a long time. And he doesn't have, like, he's startled. It's been a long time. Who knows when the last time the man stroked it out. He can tell that this is going to end very quickly, and it does. He finishes super quick. And he's like, I'm sorry. He feels bad. It was just so overwhelming. And instead, she rubs herself out on top of him. And then is like, okay, cool, done. Goes to the spare bedroom upstairs, because there's 2 rooms up there. And just with this like whirlwind of chaos right at the beginning. And then we find out that some other people, including the professor, or not necessarily the professor, but like the historical society of the town, has pitched in to possibly buy the bar, plus another person who is the bad guy in the story. And then the sisters obviously want to get the bar, which they assumed was already going to be theirs. But the biggest reason why their mama is not just giving them the bar is she's in a lot of debt. And you find this out pretty quick because Alex starts the benefit of living there. She starts going through her grandmother's office and the papers and all this stuff, and finds out how much in debt. And she's, again, for like, I want to say half the book, Alex is a raging ball of anger. She's angry about stuff that happened in Chicago. She's angry about stuff that happened in the past that she keeps alluding to, both verbally out and then like mentally within. She's angry at the situation the bar is in. She's angry at her family for something that all again has to do with the thing that happened in the past. She's angry at Jeremiah because she sees him as some white invader into her situation. So there's a lot of anger and resentment and things. But within that, as we get closer and closer to the middle of the book, she continues to playfully flirt, slightly toxic flirting, but mostly flirt, tease Jeremiah. And we get to see her opening up with at least her grandmother. Now, she did have like an absentee father because of alcohol, so there is definitely, content warnings for alcoholism mentioned, at least in the book. And and this has to do with like stuff that happens in the past, which again really you only really get to find out right at the end of the book. I want to say like 4 chapters towards the end. Maybe that might be generous. But so rewinding. You find all this out. She starts talking to her grandmother more, learning about the bar and the community and what it takes to be a bartender there again. Because this was her dream. She wanted to do this, but then she had to leave. And it wasn't like a situation where she left to go learn somewhere so that she could be a better bartender for there. She was, well, this is a spoiler section, so I can just say she was forced to leave because of situations. And a lot of that has to do with the bad guy manipulating her. And the bad guy is like the white town founder related to those people who are still people of great money and great view in the community and all those things. So because of the situation that happened with them, she had to leave. It wasn't part of her choice. So some of her healing is re-accepting the community, not just accepting them, but re-accepting them, being okay there, being okay with herself, which I thought was great because it's put against the background of she doesn't take shit from anybody. She is definitely a badass, but she's also hurt. And some of her badassery she uses to cover up that pain, and some of it is just genuine. Her parents and even her grandmother, her Nana, talk about how she was wild when she was young and she wasn't afraid to stand up for what she wanted and to express how she felt and to help people. So there's this background of she's upset, dealing with some of her own stuff, and then wanting to help and protect her grandmother and the bar to a certain extent. And she starts to fall back in love with the town and her family, even though she's very resistant to the family part, but it's there. You can see, you can tell, like it doesn't take her that long to fall back into the rhythm of family and of traditions and of being surrounded by that. Tagging along is Jeremiah, where at first she's like, no, this is my family and you're just a white stranger, to being like, yes, you're a white stranger, but you're really hot and you're also a nice person, and actually deciding to listen to him. So we get to like the middle point of the book and they start actually talking and acknowledging, and she admits that she's like too brash and being too forward, not necessarily admitting that she's using that to hide, but like saying that she's been too hard on him. So they come to this like mutual kind of agreement, which means they get to spend more time, and then obviously they already are because they're literally living right next to each other and the wall is very thin. And before this point, they definitely play on that, where she hears him rubbing one off, so she decides to rub one off. She finishes first and then interrupts him. And yeah, the tension between them gets very high, very fast. They're constantly talking about it to themselves and being undeniably attracted, like a moth to a flame, quite literally acknowledging that if they touch it, they can burn and die. But they really, 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 really want to. And they hold off for a while. But very much like You Had Me at Ola is very open with toy play and showing that like that's okay to have sexual uh, pleasure devices, toys. This one shows that other things are okay, like self pleasure, and how self pleasure can be enhanced even within like a couple situation. And I think that's great because they make an agreement after. So there's an after situation. Well, technically, it's part of like the midpoint of the book where they acknowledge to like be partners in trying to help save the bar, which involves like a treasure hunt. Part of that agreement is no intercourse, and they kind of double down on that reassurance. It's mostly like themselves separated that they say that nothing's going to happen. But as they get closer to finding this treasure that they're looking for, the amount of time they're spending together heats them up. Literally, poor Jeremiah, who definitely has, maybe not necessarily OCD, but has like some kind of like hyper focused situation going. Maybe he's like on an autism spectrum. I don't know. I'm throwing that out. I'm not saying that's what's happening. But there's definitely something going on. Literally can't focus if she's wearing something specific or she looks at him a certain way or says something. Like, he loses this genius mind of his, just goes literally short circuit. And I think he actually says that in the book where he's just like, suddenly he's going and then he just stops. Like, it just doesn't work anymore. And it's so cute. It is so cute because even though he's mentioning like things about her body and stuff that he wants to do with it, like she has these like intricate tattoos on her arm, and he mentions multiple times how he would want to like lick them and things like that. And it's not objectifying. There's definitely no objectifying where it could definitely have gone that way, but Angela takes very well care of, before she even steps to that point, she lets you, the reader, know that he really, really cares for her and really loves her, even if they're not ready to say that in the book to themselves at that point. It's there. It's obvious. This is beyond a physical attraction. And it's mutual. Very mutual. And Alex in the book has her own kind of situation that where there's all kinds of comments, mostly internally again, where he's doing something nerdy or he looks extra like Professor-y nerdy boy. She even makes a comment where she says something or comments something about, oh, professor, and then she stops and is like, do I have a professor? Do I have a teacher thing? And then she's like, yeah, actually I do. Yeah, that's fine. And it's so refreshing to really see it in a like matter of fact situation. Like, it's just as hot being acknowledged in a almost fourth wall perspective, but not exactly fourth wall breaking. And yes, also, I love the juxtaposition between Alex being a super strong, badass woman and her mom, who is just as strong, but is soft, and that it's okay. And then their grandmother being this, again, strong woman, but also like patient. And they're all like little lessons she learns from these two women. So she learns at first, because she opens up to her grandmother more, uh, about patience and observing the family and what it means to be at the bar and what it means to the community. She takes that lesson from her. And then by the end of the book, you can really tell that she pulls from this like emotional, caring side from her mom and being open to it, because it's always been there. She's just kind of like boxed it away, shoved it in the corner. This is not something I have the luxury of having. And by the end of the book, she does. And that helps inform her situation. It helps her be vulnerable and accept the situation and accept help and love from her family, because even though shit happened in the past, they're here and now. Nothing can fix what happened then, but now they can build from, even if it's from the ground up, to be a stronger family. And I love that. At this point, I was listening to the the like hits. She hit you. She's like, bam, bam, bam. Find the treasure. Something happens with grandma, with Chinana. Then the revelation of the past, and then you quickly get the like third act breakup, but it's not necessarily a third act breakup, but like it has the feeling of it, and that hits you, and the argument, and then family comes in to save the day, and it's not necessarily Jeremiah, it's not necessarily the love interest that comes and saves the day. No, it's literally family. And then the acknowledgement at the end of, I fucked up, but I also love you. And this is the only time I lied to you. And I want to accept your love. But if I hurt you so much, it's okay, I understand. That epiphany of what everyone always says, where true love is loving somebody, even if you're not the right person, and being able to let go of that person. Literally, that was the whole situation in the like last chapter, or second to last. No, I think it was the last chapter. It happened so fast. There are so many moments of like emotion. As I mentioned in the comments, and if you saw my Instagram, I was listening to these revelations in Walmart, shopping with my dad, and at Costco. I almost cried in Costco. It was the closest I came. I know I said I cried on Instagram, but I didn't. No, in Costco I cried a little bit. I was like, I just have to blow my nose kind of situation. Walmart, I think I had held it in better, but it was there. Like her conversation with her dad and hearing her grandmother cry, like, and then her fight with Jeremiah, and then her family coming to save the day, / like the heroine saving herself. Good Lord, I was broken. It was perfect and beautiful and wonderful, and it never undermined the woman. It never did. This book let Alex start off in a shitty place, find happiness, be afraid of it and of herself, let herself become her own problem again, because that was the original situation, and realize that she does want to go forward, and there are multiple ways to do that, and save herself. Because even though her family did come in to help her realize that, it really was Alex saving herself. She was her own hero. And I think that was wonderful, because it's not something you see a lot. So yeah. Also, the sex. Even the next time, I mean, besides the like self-pleasure situation, like when they actually do it, oh my freaking gosh. Like the humanness of it, there's literally a point where like Jeremiah has to pause because he's going to finish quickly again before he wants to finish. It's not necessarily that she's upset or anything. Like, he just doesn't want to finish. He wants to keep going. Like, he wants to keep this experience, and he has to stop. Like, the reality of that, of like, you need, like, the guy needs to pause and like reset himself so that he can keep going without, ejaculating, was still sexy. That realization, like, not realize, the realism of it was still so sexy. And there was, besides that first part that where there's like a tiny bit of questionable consent, but consent's mostly there. Everything else, consent is fully there. It is so sexy. And I'm someone who doesn't necessarily love like the classic nicknames. Jeremiah said all of them, and somehow they all fit Alex. They fit the specific situation that he says them in, and they're hot. Like, he uses all of them: sweetheart, darling, angel. Like, yeah. Okay, this is the end of spoilers. Okay, so that was the end of that rant. This is just rant upon rant in this video. This is going to be a mess to edit. Maybe I shouldn't have filmed this right after reading it. Too excited. But, so, overall feelings. This book had great representation. There was representation of literally just saying the word Mexican American, multiple generations after the immigration story, Middle America, and pointing that out and showing the difference, but also the diversity within that. It had a very interesting identification story. It also had a strong heroine, or as Angelica calls it, alpha females. Like, yes, please, can I have more of these? And it had good biracial couple situations, and acknowledging how hard and how difficult that can be. Great acceptance and representation of consent and just sexual experiences in general. I love that, and this is in a lot of romances in general, but I love that it's also in a Latine book where the idea of sex isn't just very one-sided. It's multifaceted, very accepted, and that it's okay. And in how they perform it without spoiling things. So I love that. And it all very much made the book well-rounded and well experienced. And each point definitely added to it, and I definitely enjoyed it. Now, this series obviously focuses on the Latine part. So again, the talking about Mexicans being in Middle America and what they did for America. Great representation, great history moment. You learned something. After you read this, go search Google so that Google can start pushing it to other people. great representation of a non-traditional Latine experience, again, in the sense of someone who is multi-generational, who doesn't necessarily speak Spanish, who doesn't necessarily exude what you would expect a Mexican woman to exude. And also having a lot of Latine people in great job situations, like the family owns a bar, having a Hispanic Latine person as a business owner is rare. Even here in southern Arizona, where we're right next to the border, we have a huge population of Hispanic people. It's not very common. She has a cousin who owns his own company. And Alex herself is a very successful bartender who has the ability to be in a managerial situation, but she's just that knowledgeable. So there's a lot of that. That's good representation to have out there for someone else to read this. Not that I think a high schooler should be reading this, but we all know what happens. It's good to show so that it can be like, oh, I can do that. So great representation. And yeah, I'm going to give this 5 stars. I double checked what Ramon and Julieta was, and I also labeled this 5 stars. And I love this just as much, so it makes sense. I'm just going to 5-star it. It is perfect. It is wonderful. Besides the fact, if you don't like the sexy scenes, also if you don't like a a woman who has fire, A, you might need to reevaluate yourself. But B, this probably isn't going to be for you, because Alex is very much, even when they're on the same page, she's still there. And some of it is that she has to deal with her own issues. But besides that, that's just who she is. She's a powerful, strong, don't take shit from anybody person. And I personally know women in my own family that are like that, that I wish that I was more like that. So 100% recommend. Read it. Be open-minded to an alpha female character and what that acknowledges, what that means. And yeah, definitely check it out. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in more of these, I will have a playlist, probably, yes, here, the playlist will be here. Check out the playlist of all the other videos I've made. And if you want to join in or have an influence of what I possibly read for the quarter, then you can check out my Ko-fi, which will be linked down below. The book club is for members only, so you'd have to be a member. It's only $2. You also, as a member, besides getting access to the book club, you also get access to videos early. And right now that's it. I do also have some commissions that are only for members, so you can check that out there. And yeah, if you just want to check out what my videos are when they come, I do writing videos, these book videos, I do gaming videos. I try to express and show stories in different ways. And you can check out all those videos by hitting subscribe and the bell. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time in whatever video I do. Yeah. Tell stories and press.